So first, let's start with this types of functions. We have two types of functions. One of them is void. The other one is value returning function. So what is this? A void function, basically a function that does an operation, but that doesn't give us, return us any value that we will use furthermore, more. Like this print function, for instance. So when we are saying a print and do this, it will print a message, but it will not give us any value that we can continue. So because of this, like if I, in my Python code, if I write something like this, it will be meaningless to say that a is equal to print something, because print function is not returning any value to me. It's a void function. But the other type is the value returning function, which is like this input function, for instance. So it does some action, like it gets the input from the user, and also it returns a value to us so that we can use it in our following program. Also in this int function, so it does some action. It takes a string and then converts it to integer, and then it returns it. So that's why it's meaningful to say that this x int is equal to int 58. So this is two types of functions. And when we are defining a function, first we need to this def. This is our keyword. So this is we use to, whenever you say def, it means okay, now we are defining a function. And then our function name. For the function name, well, again, same rules applies for the variable names. So we cannot start with a number. We cannot use non-numeric, non-letter characters. We can use only underscore. And we shouldn't put any space for our function names. And it is usually a verb, like do this, display message, print, find, whatever it is. So usually it is a verb, but of course it doesn't have to be, but usually it is, because we define functions to perform a task. And when we are, and this is a defining a function, we also need to follow this indentation rules like we do in the if statements and also the for loops. So when we look at this code, we can understand that okay, these two print lines belongs to this message function. And there are two things that we need to be careful about it. One of them is the definition, and the other one is calling a function. So when we say this definition message, this will not run any code at this point. We are just saying, okay, we define a function, but we didn't ask program to do it. And then this is called a calling a function. So we define how to do this action, but it won't execute at that point. But when we call that function, then it will execute that code. So the definitions by itself, they will not produce any output. They will not be executed unless they are called. So whenever we call it, then we will use those codes. Do you have any questions so far? Let me continue. So let's do one example for this. Actually, in the following code, we will do it anyway. Let's do one example. So for this definition function, so to define a function, we use this def as a function name, as our keyword. Then our function name, whatever it should be, we write our function name, and then the parentheses. This is important. We put the parentheses. It indicates which parameters we will use. What is a parameter? We will see it in the following slides, but I can say it in this way. In a print message, that string is a parameter of a print function. In an input function, the message that we want to show, it's a parameter of this input function. is an integer. The string that we give is a parameter of that function. But some functions might not have any parameter. Even though they don't have any parameter, we put this parentheses, open it and close it, and then the colon. And then with the following indentation, we need to write whatever code we would like to write in this function following the indentation. Of course, I need to do this. All right. And when we are running a code, write a code that includes functions, following that code, reading that code might be somehow a little bit challenging than the previous ones, because in the other ones we were just starting from the top, we were just reading the lines and then trying to understand what it means. But if our code has function definitions, and we are using those functions, the execution will be a little bit different. So how is this? Let's look at this example, for instance. If you are given this kind of a code, how will you read it? Well, I'll just check this. This is definition. So I'm now skipping it. This will not be executed now. This is definition. I'm also skipping that. I'm coming to here. Okay, this is not a definition, which means that, okay, my program will start here. Now what is this function is doing? Okay, it calls this main function. So my program, I will go to this. I will jump to the main function, and I will print this message. I have a message for you. Okay, then I will print this message function. Comes here message function. Okay, then I need to jump to this message function. Definition is definition, and then I'll print this. Okay, I'm Arthur, king of the burdens. When I'm done, now I need to go back to where it is called, which is here. Now I'm finished with this message function, so I can continue, which is basically it will say goodbye, and then okay, I'm done with the main function, so I will go back to here in where it is called, and then I will continue here. So this is like, I will do one example for this. Let's say we have this function f, just some dummy message to understand where our code is going. And then let's say we have function m, and then it will print 2, and then maybe it will call function f, and then it will print 3. And then in our code, maybe we will say print 4, function m, and print 5. So what will be the output of this code if we run it? So for this one, again, we have this definition. For now, I'm skipping that. Another definition, I'm skipping that. Now my code starts from here. So basically, it will print first 4, and then I'm calling function m. So I'm jumping here. Okay, then I will print 2. Then I call function f. So that's why I need to jump to here, and I will print 1. I'm done here, so I'll go back to where where this function is called, which is here. So I will continue from here, then I will print 3. Then I'm done with function m. So I will, again, where did I call this function m? Here. So I will come back here, and then I will print 5. So this is, again, 4, 2, 1, 3, 5. So 4, 2, and then 1, and then 3, and then 5. Do you have any questions so far? All right, then let me continue. This main function, and what is this? Well, in other languages, C or Java, in order to write a code, you have to define a main function. It shows where your program starts. So it's a must function that you have to implement. In Python, we don't need it actually. I mean, I can write any code without defining a function. I can just write, okay, print 5, and then it will just do it. So I don't need a specific main function. But this main function is also like a convention in programming among the programmers. So when you see a main function, it indicates that, okay, your program starts from here. So that a person who are trying to read your code, it will understand that, okay, this is where the program starts. In Python, we don't have this specific function for that. Like in Java or C, it has a specific meaning, like you have to run from the main function, but here it is not. But still, to follow that tradition, the condition, and make our code more readable by the other developers, we can still define a main function. Like we define a main function, actually contains all our program, and then we define it here, we define some other functions, and then we call the main function. So again, our program starts here, which calls the main function and does those certain actions. Do you have any questions so far? All right. This indentation in Python is, again, for the functions are same for the, as in the if statements and the for loops. So again, we define which code belongs to one function based on the indentation. So you have to pay attention to that they're all in line. If it is not, you will get an error, or the meaning of the code might change if you don't follow the indentation. So this is an important part. Okay, let's do one example with you. I copy pasted this code to here so that we don't need to go back to our program to the slide. Let me actually delete this part. So let's write this together, okay? Define a function called greeting that prompts the user to input a name within the function and prints a greeting message, salam name in GENG 106. Okay, now I suddenly forget all my Python knowledge. So what should I type first? Yes, I need to go with this def. This is my keyword, and then I should ask this question: what is my function name? Greeting. So I need to type greeting. Then the next question is, does it take any parameter? The question didn't mention anything, so it doesn't take any parameter. But then, because of that, I need to put this open parentheses and then close the parentheses. Okay, then what should I write? Equals, not equals, a colon, yes. Then, what should I type? It says that, okay, that prompts the user to input a name within the function. Yes, and okay, we need an input function, but we need to also set it to some variable. Name is equal to input, okay. Then what should we do? I believe you know this. You're just print the message, okay. I said print. I'm done. Am I done? Salam, yeah, with the double quote, or maybe is an F string. Then this one. All right. So this was the first one. The other one is define the main function and call the greeting function within it, and then call the main. Okay, so here is that. Define the main function, call the greeting function within it, and then call the main. So what should I type now? Def main, okay. And main function does not take any parameter. Then what should I do? Define the main function. I did that. Then call the greeting function within it. How can I do it? The greeting is this. I'll just say greeting, yes. But here, one thing that you need to be careful about it is this parenthesis part. If you don't put it, Python will consider it as a variable name, as a data. So how can it understand that it's a function or a variable? Well, with these parentheses, now it understand, okay, this is a function. So this is the main function, and then it says again to call the main function. We just need to do this part. Do you have any question? Shall we proceed to the next slide? All right. Now, one of the another motivations of functions is that it helps us to design a big problem. Like, let me ask you one thing. Let's say, okay, a tourist came to Doha. Okay, then he says, okay, I want to visit Doha. What should I do? Okay, then what will you say? Like, how can you plan a tour for that person? Any idea? Will you just say, okay, just visit Doha? Well, is it what will you say? Or you don't want to help him? Okay, you should just leave Qatar. Go. Excuse me? List the places. Okay. What else? Information. And list the places. Where will you get the list the places? Okay. Just okay. This is the Qatar. This is Museum of Islamic Art. And then, so you are not very helpful. Okay. You are not very. You don't want people to visit Qatar. I understand it. Is that the case? We are coming to this solution, by the way. I'm actually asking you to develop an algorithm that will help tourists to walk around in Doha. We are now trying to develop a program, okay? Develop an algorithm. It's not like we are trying to just socialize with a tourist, okay? So don't you have any approach? Like, what are you doing? No one asked you, okay, I understand that, okay, no one asked you to, is that the case? What would you do if a person says, okay, I don't know Doha, can you help me? Where should I go? What should I do? Just leave, get on the plane, and we don't want to see you here. I think that's your response. So, excuse me? Yeah, that's also a good thing. Okay. Actually, yes. Go ahead, please. Actually, you are doing a very good in terms of algorithm development. Yes.
And then you can use these facilities to visit some places.
Mm-hmm.
Like transportations and everything.
Okay, good. So now, you might ask, okay, how is this related to this algorithm development? The thing is, well, we don't develop any algorithm like this. Okay, name an input and say salam GNG 106. In real life, we don't do this kind of extremely simplified problems. Like, the problem is actually a larger one. Like, develop me a tourist guide software, or maybe implement this ChatGPT tool, or implement this driverless car. So the problems are actually so big. So you cannot just start, okay, how can I implement a driverless car? Okay, I just need this variable A and B and C. No, we don't do it. We just first need to decide to develop an algorithm for it. The problem is so big. A person comes to you, okay, where should I go and visit? What should I do in Qatar? Which place I should visit? Okay, the question is big actually. Like, you cannot say, okay, just go Qatar, Souk Waqf, and so on and so. You don't say that. Like, especially if it's a computer, we don't say that just go Qatar. We should say everything in detail. So what we are doing is, okay, we need a design. Like I need to first divide the task. Okay, first introduction myself. This is one task. Then find the places that needs to be visited. And then for each of them, like how can I go to Qatar? And what should I do this? So I'm dividing the problem into smaller ones. Okay, you need to go Qatar, Souk Waqf, and Museum of Islamic Art. Okay, this is my 3 tasks. And then for the Qatar, in Qatar, what should I do? I should do this, that, and that. And Souk Waqf, I should do this and that. Where should you eat, and so on. So I'm also dividing it into some even smaller tasks. Then it helps, okay, to write me a full schedule. Also, like, how can I implement a driverless car? Well, I don't know where to start because the problem is so big. But what I can do is, okay, let's first implement the engine maybe. Then also some person might be responsible for the console. We need tires. We need AI model to define the roads. We need sensors. Then we can say that, okay, how can we implement these sensors? How can we implement this? So I'm dividing the task into smaller things. Then this is called top-down design. This is a very big approach. Like, how do you solve a big problem? First divide it into smaller ones, and then try to solve those small problems. Once you solve those smaller problems, then you can solve the big one. How is this related to functions? Well, again, this is when we are trying to solve a problem, like, again, we do not want to think about any limitations of programming languages. Like, if I can develop an algorithm, I can implement it in Java, C, Python. It's so easy, but the main challenge is the algorithm. That's why we frequently use these flowcharts that doesn't have any programming language syntax. If you give me this, I can write it in Java, in C, in Python, and so on. And in this one, this is called flowchart, in which it shows the step by step. Do this, do that, and that. In those ones, we can also put those functions, like this message, for instance, we put this in rectangle as this figure. And for each function, we can also write this flowchart. So this is to show the step by step. We also use these functions, again, to design, in our design approach, to design this structure chart. So this is not a flow chart, this is a structure chart. It doesn't show the steps, but it shows the relationship between functions. So in order to implement this main function, I need to implement these. In order to implement this getInput function, I need to implement these. In order to visit Travel Doha, I need to visit Qatar, Souk Waqf, and this and that. In order to fully visit Qatar, I need to go to this and that and these places. So I'm dividing my task, which is just visiting Doha, to smaller tasks, and then I'm going back to smaller tasks. But I don't say that it's not a flowchart like, okay, how can I go this? I visit this restaurant, then what should I do next? It's not a flowchart, but it still helps me to design my schedule. So functions are also useful for this part. For now, we are not dealing with all the details, like how can I implement a driverless car, how can I implement the sensors and so on. So this is so technical, but I'm just dividing it. What should I do as a big task? Then later on I will work on it. So this is also functions are also useful for this. And also we have this pass keyword. What is this? It's also useful for designing. Again, what is this? Well, I'll show it with the code. Well, let's say okay, I'm defining a function that says, okay, visit Doha, to travel Doha function, okay? And then I'm now thinking, okay, in that one, probably we need to visit Qatar. And then we need to visit, okay, Souk Waqf and so on and so. I'm just putting it with some, let's say Souk, whatever. Now I'm getting an error. But actually, I'm not implementing. I'm still in the designing mode. I'm just thinking, but I'm just writing it down. Okay, I need this function and this. But I'm getting error. This is annoying. What I will do is, okay, I'll just put pass. As you notice now, I'm not getting an error for this function anymore. And then for this one, I'm also put this. I'll say pass, and for that one also. Now I'm getting an error as of now because this part is empty. I'll put this pass. What does this pass means? It means do nothing. Just do nothing. That's it. Why then? Okay, why did I put it like it's so unnecessary to define a function that does nothing? Well, we are still in the design mode. This is a temporary code that I just put so that I'm just saying, okay, I will not get any error message from the Python. I know it's empty, it doesn't do anything, but I will just do it. It just helps me to proceed. I will fill it later on. I don't know how to do it, like which places should be visiting Qatar. I don't know. I'm not. My bigger problem is first identify how to visit Doha. Once I'm done with that, then I can focus on the other smaller problems. So we use this. Again, this is for a temporary code. We will change it later on, but this is for our designing part. So for that one also we use this pass keyword.